So with that said, and trying to click the right window, with that said, just a little bit about myself. I've been doing product management for over 20 years now. I've worked in most every horizontal and vertical that Cognizant finds itself in, as a global 300,000 person company. They find themselves in just about everything. In addition to that, I spent a lot of my time in the startup world, founding 3 startups. Also worked for some large enterprises, Viacom being one of them, over the course of my career. I think if you're looking for a theme for my career, for what I've done, it would be I would kind of summarize it as, since it's not really a vertically aligned, it's really been about creating, fixing, growing product management organizations at scale. Yeah, in addition to that being my day job, I also run a large meetup group with large centers in New York City and in London, a mentorship program for product managers in over 25 countries around the world. And if you're looking for me online at any point in time, you can find me on LinkedIn or as the product guy, or just Google the product guy. You can kind of find me quite easily there. So as we kind of, let me get to that next slide. So we'll talk through what is product management and digital transformation to make sure that we're all on the same page. And then what I want to do is really zero in on how putting product managers in the driver's seat can lead to organization-wide outcomes. What is product? So let's start at the basics. Is it an app, a service, physical commodity? People ask that all of the time. The answer is yes, all of the above. It's any item or service you sell to serve a customer's need or want. Every single company exists for an important purpose: to deliver the best possible products to their customers. More often than not, the success of these products hinges on the abilities of the product manager. Your product manager, the characteristics of a product manager, I think many of us are familiar with with a good smattering of these. But your product manager drives the product vision, development, market launch, continual support and improvement of the company's products, the vital delivering of innovations and driving that business growth. So when we're talking about who that product manager is, they're the problem solvers. PMs love to leave things better than they found them. They're the people who see the opportunities arise from listening to customers, looking at trends, really understanding real people's problems. And they serve as a sounding board for people inside the company and stakeholders, customers, business, etc., partners. And in short, the product manager is there to proactively search out issues and conceive of new ways to fix them. They're problem solvers, and the best product managers are the ones that like to solve problems for real people. And it's about, at the end of the day, it's focused on finding those problems. A great quote from the head of product over at LinkedIn: product managers can bring a unique value to an organization. They're the people who make sure everything that's happening across the chain is gravitating directly towards generating additional business value, that everything's moving towards that key business objective, that North Star goal. In other words, they're the voice of the user within the business, looking at optimizing the experience with the business objectives always in mind, continuously in mind. A great product manager thinks in terms of impact. Is this going to wow our customers? Will it move the needle on their objectives? Will it make us memorable, even indispensable? So now that we kind of have that baseline of what is a product manager, which is always a good place to start on a topic about product management. Now I want to spend a little bit of time layering in what is digital transformation within this context. And so we're going to shift gears a little bit and focus on digital transformation. So what is digital transformation? It's the ongoing process of bringing together business and technology in order to deliver better outcomes for customers. I'm sure many of you who are attending here are already familiar with the concept of digital transformation and some of the challenges that businesses, large, small, have experienced in transforming their business operations. What was an important priority before, that is digital transformation, is now absolutely critical. Distributed workforces, customers seeking digital solutions over physical interactions are just some of the issues that businesses are dealing with right now. We're in a pandemic and post-pandemic world. The world has changed, and one of those key things has been that everyone has kind of awoken to the criticality of digital transformation for their businesses. Despite understanding what digital transformation is, unfortunately, not everyone understands why. And I think now you might start seeing where I'm going here in connecting some of these stats, especially to product management. Digital transformation is about being able to respond better to your customers' needs. And at the end of the day, nearly all companies are pursuing digital transformation in order to capture additional business or customer outcomes, business outcomes, user value, business value. It's about driving towards that bigger picture. And digital transformation is not an end point. It's a continuous. It is a continuous journey. Now, when you're looking at digital transformations, 70% do not reach their goals, do not achieve their business objectives. They fail for all sorts of reasons. The thought. It's evidently an important priority for enterprises. However, few of these companies can candidly say that their transformation was a success. Worse, flawed strategies produce significant costs, not least the opportunity cost of being able to harness the power of customer data to fuel better outcomes. Now, everyone is constantly, why are these things failing? The factors for why digital transformation is many. Digital transformation efforts fail because they focus too much on internal process rather than business outcome. It was viewed as a departmental initiative rather than company-wide. They executed on the how, just the technology, rather than understanding the why and the what. They see it more as an event or a milestone rather than an ongoing initiative. If we look further upstream, all of these are symptoms of a single core problem: the failure to put customers' needs at the heart of digital transformation plans. It's focusing on those outcomes, focusing on, like I said, the real people's problems. So let's talk about why a product manager, and I think many of you are probably picking up on that a little bit, is so perfectly positioned to tackle resolving many of these stumbling blocks. Your PM helps make sure you're delivering on your transformation goals in several ways. First, it's de-risking investments, and in our time of the pandemic, of post-pandemic, whatever the nomenclature ends up being, de-risking, I think that's kind of one of those top line words that I think everyone can now very easily relate to. Contrary to how product managers are typically viewed, they do not only help manage risk in the development and build process, but rather they tackle it system-wide. De-risking can take many forms. When you're looking at market risk, it's avoiding wasting resources, building the wrong products. Financial risk, overshooting budgets on building, marketing, maintaining products. Technical risk, making sure the products that go into the market are fit for purpose and don't pose additional risks, such as security risks to end users. Operational risk, putting the wrong people or skills on projects or missing out the input from important stakeholders. Product management is risk management. It's value management. It's managing these risks by having the requisite knowledge about the market landscape, the organization, and most importantly, the end users. Being able to spot potential issues by validating the unknowns before they emerge as problems, and apply a product mindset so that you're continuously innovating in order to provide the best possible products to your customers. Digital transformation is all about connecting people, processes, and technology. And the product manager, your PM, the product manager, is in the perfect spot to make this a reality. And they get how interconnected all three are. They know how to channel them towards those better outcomes. Let's look at how a product manager collaborates with the other roles within the organization. The product manager has a dedicated focus on solving customer pain points, where your technical lead is focused more on the how, with the project manager focusing on the when. The product manager defines the why and the what. Their priority is aligning the business objectives, ensuring product market fit. To distinguish, the product manager will advocate for outcomes on behalf of end users, business, end users' needs, business motivations, values, whereas a technical lead is focused on engineering outcomes. The project lead focused on managing project milestones. They track how successful they are by focusing on key outcomes. Are we in tune with the market? Are we growing our user base? Do we have a clear, coherent, flexible product strategy? Are we on track with the product roadmap? And many more after that. So now you're thinking, well, what does a product manager actually do in order to help get these outcomes, accomplish the digital transformation? And there's never a one size fits all. You have to really adapt to your company, in our case, to our clients, to users and markets. However, great product managers, they have a whole toolkit of strategies that they can tap into in their tool belt, as I like to say, that they can leverage depending on the context, situation, desired outcomes. In practice, this can look like everything from optimizing user value through continuous innovation, engaging different teams and stakeholders through storytelling, developing wonderful narratives, understanding customers' motivations and values by developing user personas, inspiring the teams and the people and the business units, getting the best out of everyone, contributing to the larger picture, contributing towards those great North Star goals. De-risking by continuously experimenting with hypothesis-driven development. So to kind of round this discussion off a little bit, let me just kind of summarize why the product manager is really that best person for driving forward with digital transformation. At the end of the day, your product manager will ensure that the customer remains at the center of the digital transformation efforts in order to maximize business and user value. This looks like an initiative that's rooted in continuous innovation, people-oriented, outcome-driven, highly empathetic, experimental, problem-centric. Product managers are in a unique position to be able to drive this sort of meaningful organization-wide change. And so what I'd like to kind of do now is kind of connect this to a little bit more of the real world here. And so what we're going to talk a little bit about is what we're doing with my team and Cognizant about really driving and accelerating this great sort of digital transformation at scale. And so just I think a little bit of context is helpful. Product management within digital engineering at Cognizant is a very large team. We span North America, Europe, Asia Pacific. We have a lot of product associates within our organization of all kinds of skill levels. And so when as part of digital engineering, I think the best way to kind of understand and internalize what that means is product management as part of digital engineering versus the consulting arm of Cognizant. It basically means we build products, we build software for the Global 1000. And so we function very much like your normal sort of product management. So a lot of the lessons, a lot of things I'm going to be talking about here are really universally applicable, as well as things that other companies frequently are tapping into as far as our capabilities. And so I had mentioned continuous innovation earlier. So what is continuous innovation? Continuous innovation is a product engineering methodology that drives speed to market using a learn fast approach. And by learn fast, as you can see, I have never been a fan of the fail quickly, because I've always seen all failures and mistakes, etc. At the end of the day, I'm making the fail quickly is at its core because I'm trying to learn. If I only failed and didn't learn, that was not a good failure to be making, not one that I wanted to make quickly either. And so it's really about learning quickly, and it's about baking that in, using a lot of the concepts of lean methodology in a much more continuous process, integrated with from development through ideation, through releasing, etc. Throughout the whole process. The product mindset, building that product mindset through the disciplines of experience design, technology, modern engineering, being continuous innovation, really with a foundation of being outcome driven, focusing on user experience and modern engineering at a global scale with a focus on delivery excellence. Now, I think a lot of time when we're thinking about the typical agile delivery process, we're seeing something that looks a bit like this. And so we kind of go through discovery period, definition, and you're doing your agile and you're working on delivery. Maybe even some of the sprints are feeding information into subsequent sprints along the way in a kind of a more typical agile process. But when we're talking about continuous innovation, we're talking about tighter iterations and multiple tracks all running in parallel, where you're constantly validating, you're constantly developing, you're constantly releasing, you're constantly feeding back data into the process. So it's about validating product ideas to improve and accelerate delivery and outcomes. A project run on continuous innovation is able to move much more quickly than agile alone. And quickly, I don't necessarily always mean velocity wise, but it's about making the best use, making the smartest use of the resources, of the capabilities to deliver the most optimal outcomes that we can. So it layers in that de-risking concept, but it's about really taking those pivots, taking those validations, and layering much more finely those incremental steps, so that you can also see that business value more continuously along the way. It's identifying an insight about what a user wants or a user behavior, formulating the problem statement, feeding that into validated hypotheses, feeding that into user stories, continuously, incrementally, iteratively. And when you're approaching it that way, you're going to get more and real data at that much better continuous fashion. Using live metrics to get user feedback. And again, you have to be, it's about also, as things become more successful, doing it at scale. And so in my world, when we're talking about scale, we're talking about some pretty hefty scale here. It's about kind of merging the world of talent with the world of delivery. And we approach things from the perspective of guilds and communities and squads. I think some terminologies that are probably familiar to our audience here. And this all, the delivery world, the talent world marries up with kind of that product world to deliver that continuous innovation approach. It's about being deeply ingrained in the client ecosystem, collaboratively accelerating success. It's focusing on the outcomes, being user-centric in the design, creating a culture of innovation, which is a really central and key part of what all product managers should always be doing, is creating an environment, not just saying, let's go brainstorm today, but creating an environment that really fosters innovation and creativity and problem solving. The product manager doesn't always have to be that person focused on the problem solving. It's about that kind of great onion that we've got here: the what, the how, the why, developing actionable insights, maximizing employee engagement, driving a modern workplace and product maturity. The key experience groups, like basically layering in everything from members and employees, APIs, to really generate and creating a true user-centric digital experience. So anyway, I thought it would be great to kind of give you a little bit of a taste of what that means, especially from the Cognizant context of what we've been doing, what we've been building. And with that said, I'll just say thank you, everyone, for inviting me. Happy to take some questions about anything you saw here or things that you didn't. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. That was extremely insightful. One of the themes that I picked up is that a good product manager will help you de-risk your investment. Now, whether that's a large company, whether that's a startup, but I think that's a very powerful theme. So thank you so much. And with that, we would like to open it up for Q&A. I'm sure folks have many questions about digital transformation, about your experiences. So folks, feel free to jump in.
I have a question about your culture of innovation, Jeremy. Just how living in today's world, there's sort of an axiom that goes that innovation requires joy. So what kind of impact did distributed teams and today's enough said.
Oh, you took the question a little bit of a curve there that I wasn't expecting. But so I think what you're saying is how do we do innovation? How do we foster an innovative environment when no one's in the same room, where people are spread all out? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yeah, I kind of had a two-part question. That was one, and then also around the issue of joy, because joy is required for innovation, right?
At some level, I'd say yes. At some level, yes. So I would say I would go with I'd be the first person to say. I would have been the first person to say. I was one of the early people to say, in this distributed world, product management doesn't work anymore. I've been doing product management forever, and the one part of the process that I always said you can't separate from the customer and the users was the product manager. And I can also say I'm the one who's been most happily, I think, proven wrong in that. I'll tell you, when I started Cognizant, I started in mid-March of last year. I live in New York City. My first day was the day I have two young kids. I have one that's 2, one that's 5. And the day I started was the day they closed schools in New York City. So that was a very exciting first day for me. So I spent a lot of my time and so that was my job, to figure out, can this work? How will this work? What's the messaging? How do we want to kind of communicate, go to market? First thing I learned was the go to market in product management. Wow, that married up quite nicely. Making the best use of your resources and your time, and de-risking all of your efforts. But one of the things that I ended up seeing very quickly was all of a sudden it became a lot easier to talk to customers. You knew where they were, and you knew where your team was. So meetings got a little bit crazier, but access also, the bar to access, the bar to talk to a different client or different potential customer, instead of me going to Starbucks and hopefully scheduling a whole bunch of people at Starbucks and crossing my fingers that they'd show up, guess what? Now I can just tune in, tap into different people, and I have all these other platforms to kind of reach out to people. And it became so much easier to do that part. Now I don't get to do the schmoozing that I used to do, like in the evenings or over lunch, and say, now tell me the real thing. So I think there's a little bit more formality that you end up having in this format. But at the same time, I've never been like the level of customer development that we can do now, the ability to kind of just talk to so many different clients and other companies. I've very happily proven wrong. I thought this was going to be I thought this would made a fun challenge into an enormous challenge. I'll say it as positively as I can. Now, the joy part, I think it's an important. So, as I manage a very large team here at Cognizant, and what my core focus is always the people. And I think this applies whether it's a large team that I'm currently managing or kind of anywhere else. You do have to kind of go out of your way. You do have to put the extra effort in to first make sure that people are disconnecting from work. And some of that's by leading by example. Like just, you got to start basics, right? Like make sure people are taking their vacations, make sure people are disconnecting. If you need to put together, let's all plant a vegetable today workshop, and we can all do that together. We're all going to do a drawing class together. So you can come up with other types of activities. We did a holiday party in December, which was probably the best holiday party I've been to in years. And it was all virtual, and it was great. We had a DJ, we had activities, we got to learn about each other. So that's kind of like, there's certain, you have to kind of create that environment. But I think in general, I think that the joy part, I think more importantly, I think innovation, I think creativity comes from a place of security. And so people need to feel comfortable that they can fail, that they can make mistakes, that they hopefully, like, the ideal is to make the team, and this is how I'm always talking to everyone, my direct reports, my larger team. I want it to be a family. I want people to know that everyone has each other's back. I want people to know that make a mistake, just try something, learn from it, but then try something else. If you're learning from it, and you're helping other people learn from your mistake, that's what you want. And you want to know that you're supported. You want to know that you can speak freely, that you're not going to be negatively judged. And I think that goes to everything from kind of whether it's creating a diverse work environment to an innovative and creative work environment. You want people to feel comfortable. And so it's a constant conversation. What more can we do? Because we can always do more. But if you can have an environment where people feel okay to take a risk, to try something, and not to feel like they have to back it up with like 300 pages of pitches where they can base it off some data and go with it and give it a try. Let's look at the data. Make sure people are data centric so that they're coming at it as dispassionately as possible. Like that's part of what you want in the bloodstream, and there's no, I think, a magic recipe for any of it. I'd point you to Google's people operations has done some great research in this area, and they have a lot of great content online. But I think it really points to that safety and security, and feeling comfortable speaking up. That said, the rest of it, I like to try, when I build a product team, I like bringing in people from as many different areas as possible, even better if they're not product managers. If they want to help people and they're not a product manager, that's someone I want to invest in. That's someone I want to bring into my team. That's how you kind of get that great cross-pollination of ideas, and you get just some awesome diversity of thought too.
Thank you. Yeah, just one more thing. I feel like you're talking about psychological safety, and I feel like today, one thing we all have in common is what's going on. So maybe looking for some silver linings, if maybe there's an increase in that. So yeah, thanks.
To deal with everything, I've become a collector of fountain pens, and I watch too many videos on YouTube about different colored fountain pen inks, which you'd be surprised how many colors of black there are, and people creating videos about them. Yeah, so that's been part of my escape, however strange that may sound, but everyone needs to find one. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And thank you, Jeremy. That's a very interesting perspective. I think the second part of that question, you were, as if you were reading my mind, that in this, as product leaders, how do we engage our team? This is new for everyone. It's placed undue stress on people. So that fact that you treat your team as a family, I think it's pretty powerful. And then somebody had a comment if they could join your coloring or planting parties. I think that's That's very interesting. I think that's surely for for team bonding. Okay.
Yeah,
Next
we
question.
yeah,
Yes, please.
go ahead, go ahead. We used Miro because we were product managers, and so we used a Miro board to organize it as a classical
Okay.
product.
Yeah. There you go. That's I think that's your answer. So another question that I would like to read out. This is by Farshad Samimi. And this is a question. So I'll also editorialize. I think it's been asked in many forums. So Jeremy, what's your perspective on product management versus product marketing? Right? In a technology firm, I'm not sure if you have that function, or but I'm sure you may have interacted with flavors of product marketing in the past. So what's your perspective on these two roles? Where do you find them overlapping? Any best practices on aligning collaboration between product management and product marketing? Right? Again, it's to de-risk investment. It's to have the maximum impact, positive impact for the organization.
Sure. So as a product manager, you're there to achieve business goals. Do you have an opinion as to how it should be, how something should be worded, or what the copy should look like, or what some of those users are that you can reach out to? Are there also some areas of overlap there? Yes. When you think of yourself as a product manager, your job is to make the best, not to do it all yourself. It's to make the best use out of all the resources, all the capabilities, all the skills of everyone who's involved. And so I'll come back to the product marketing, but I think I think a great parallel example is when you're talking about user research. So if you have a UX researcher, as a product manager, do you know how to do ethnographic research? Do you know how to do customer development? Do you know how? Sure, we know how to do experiments. We know how to do a lot of that type of research. But wait, I have someone or a team of people that's expert at this, that's all they do and that's all they're thinking about. My gosh, can you do that? And basically you really want to make sure that your job then is how do you get them the best information so that they can drive the best part of the process. So same sort of thing on marketing. Like in some cases, yeah, I know what I want to say, or I know how I want to say it, but I also am going to defer to expertise. And so if in product marketing has expertise in social media, which I'm sure they would have more than I do, or presentation or reaching out to customer markets. But what I really want to do though is they're going to have their own flavor of user research around the go-to-market. They're going to have insights into buyer personas. They're going to have other insights that I might not have direct information about. And again, so how do I make sure that information is flowing? How do I make sure that I'm making the best use out of that information? There's a lot of areas for overlap, and I can say very early in my career, it used to be like, that's mine. This part of the box is mine. You stay in your box. What you want to do, I think, as we kind of go to the future, as we look towards the future of product management and where it's going, it's really about the hyper collaboration, and to just know that you have to just look at people who are in high school today, or graduating high school, or going through college. It's this hyper collaboration. It's about everyone having good, unique perspectives. So you as a product manager, it's not about you coming up with the answer. It's about how do I marry all these unique perspectives and get the best outcomes from it for the business and for the user. And so when you think about where that future is, so that works with marketing, that works with user research, that works with your technical leads or your architects. Have an opinion, have a perspective, but make sure you're deferring to the right expertise, whether it's marketing or experience design or what have you.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. So, Jeremy, another question. You talked about building products for the Global 1000. What is it that they have been telling you during pandemic times? Every company is facing some headwinds. Some, like Amazon, or on the e-commerce, the omnichannel side, they're facing tailwinds, but they do have their challenges as well. So, what's what are a few of the common themes that you have been picking up in product in digital transformation, especially during the pandemic times?
Yeah, so when you're thinking about a lot of the common themes that we've been hearing has been, I think, I think, I'm gonna pivot that question a little bit, but I think it'll still get at your answer. Um, when I tried to think about what this year was going to look like, and what the holidays were going to look like, I think one of the things that surprised me was how progressive so many more companies have become than I thought they were going to be, as recently as even just Q3. The demand for everything from from just general product mindset to helping understand what the problems are, has just outstripped almost most everything. At the end of the day, everyone's trying to get into the cloud. And I think if you're coming from the startup world, which I did spend a lot of my career in, it might be a weird thing to hear, like everyone wants to go into the cloud. Trust me, there's a lot of room to get people more. There's a lot more getting into the cloud than I think many people, especially if you're, like I said, if you're more the startup world or Silicon Valley or Alley or what have you, than you might actually realize. But it's about getting into the cloud. It's about how do I get my product? How do I everything from structuring my team more intelligently to how do I basically evolve what I have so that next time something crazy happens, and hopefully not this big, but something small, some sort of thing goes on in the market, how can I be set up so that I can more dynamically adjust to it? And so it's kind of baking in a lot more kind of just that everything from the thought process to really helping kind of design and evolve kind of their product offerings so that they can be more dynamic kind of going forward. And so it's kind of more, I think of it as a kind of continuous modernization. It's how do you get them modernized, and then how do you keep them modernized so that they can really, at the end of the day, also pivot ahead of their competition. The kind of problems people are having are everything from re-engaging with their customers, like, hey, I had a store, where'd my customers go? What can I do with my products? How can I evolve my product and product strategy to re-engage with them? To how do I boost retention? To how do I reduce costs? So a lot of those problems are the same. What has happened is the mindset of everyone collectively said, oh, wow, we actually need this. I think if you just went back to see if in a couple of years, digital transformation has been there, but I don't think it was on the tip of everyone's tongue like I think it is today. And so there's been a real maturing of thought process there, but also it's just a general desire. People, what I see, I think more than I thought I would, is companies saying, hey, we know we need to become more product centric. We need someone to help drive our product strategy and help us think differently about how to drive that strategy in the future. And so that is increasingly common, and I'm meaning that at a global scale, in areas that I thought would be a little bit more lagging. And they're there too, and in many cases, I'm usually surprised as to how progressive, how aggressive a lot of companies are trying to move.
Okay, thank you. That is that's great insight. Another theme, another common theme that I'm picking up from the questions, Jeremy, is that this is a product community, and we also have folks who are new to product management, and that they're looking for advice. They're looking for advice for somebody who's trying to break into product management as a recent graduate, or somebody who's pivoting in from another role that they have held in the past. What if they don't have industry specific knowledge, right? But they're still interested in the discipline of product management. What if they don't bring that relevant experience? What's your advice for someone like that?
Yeah, so We do. Let me speak to what we're doing right now. So we're doing a lot of hiring everywhere in the world. We are hiring senior, middle tier, and we're just starting to. We'll be starting to ramp back up on kind of more the entry level type of stuff shortly. And so when I'm hiring senior, very senior folks, I do want some of that subject matter expertise in certain circumstances. I think in general, though, when I'm hiring a product manager generally, I don't care about that subject matter expertise. I care if you've got that right head on your shoulders. And I think a great example in running my own meetup group, the product group, all these years. I often will come across a founder of a company or a product manager. Never heard anything about Agile, never heard anything about Lean. And I'll say, so tell me what your product process is. How do you go about it? Well, the first thing I did is I started kind of following people to the grocery store. I would find them on Craigslist and I would say, can I follow you around for a day because I want to see what your whole day is like? And I took a lot of notes. And I collected a lot of notes about all of this because I was trying to create this app for people who do stuff with the grocery store, but they studied the whole day. They looked at the before, the after, they documented it, they looked for trends. And then they said they didn't know really what to do. So they saw a trend. So they put out like a form for people to use. And so they put out this form. And so then we asked more people. And then we made another change to the form. And you're realizing, oh, so you're doing Lean methodology so well. And you're talking to me about all these pivots. They don't know a single word I'm using. That's what I'm looking for. A question that I'll ask someone, especially if they're like fresh out of college or maybe an intern somewhere else. Basically, I'm going to ask them, why do you want to become a product manager? It's a simple question. There's one answer I want, and hopefully not to bias the viewers out there if you ever happen to be talking to me, but you want to help people. That's what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for someone who wants to be. I want to tell everyone what to do, or I want to be the one deciding, or I want to be in charge of something big. I want to help people. They have to say people. They have to say help. That's what I'm looking for. If I see someone that says that, and I'm asking a very informal question, if that's their instant answer, I want to talk to you more, and there's a good chance I'm going to bring you in as an entry-level product person that I'm going to invest in. That's what you're looking for as a product manager. Now, I speak from a unique perspective. I've been doing this a long time. I have my own point of view on a lot of this. And so what you're going to find as a product manager, I'd say more unfortunately, is you're going to look for someone they're looking to hire an entry-level product manager first with at least 2 to 3 years experience, who's also expert in that vertical. So they're asking for a lot of things that are impossible if you're brand new to product management. I say there's important. So to that end, you do want to develop your resume or customize your resume to your audience. So when you're thinking about your resume, it should read kind of almost like a Chinese menu of business value. People care less about like what you were responsible for. What was your impact? What was your impact? If you're responsible for this, if you weren't responsible for it, how would that have changed the business? So I don't want to know that you rolled out a new agile process for 20 people, and what happened? What happened? Did you reduce defects by 20%? Estimate it. The point of your resume is to get the conversation started. And so think about where you want to go, what kind of industries you're maybe interested in. In general, if you're new to product management, you want to get that title, product manager. Once you're kind of part of the club, it's a little bit easier to move around. As far as that vertical expertise, sometimes you can kind of get vertical expertise if you really want to go like into like fintech or whatever other area you might be interested in, by doing adjacent roles, maybe an analyst role. Maybe even if you're in a startup, you could be, if you're coming from an engineering background, do the engineering, but make it clear, hey, I want to do some product management work because you're trying to gain that experience because that's where you're trying to go. If you're working in a larger company, be frank. Say, like, can this get me into that product management track, or how can I move from point A to point B? And then let's say, hey, at the end of the day, everyone needs a job at some point, right? So if you didn't land that, every day you're in your current role, think about what you're doing to add business value to the company, how you're impacting. If you're in customer success, if you're in business development, wherever, if you're an engineer, think about what your business impact is. Because when I get that resume, I'm going to see an engineer, but they were thinking every day what their business impact was going to be, what the value that they were bringing to the company, what the impact on the users was. Again, that's going to tell me a lot. They've got real world experience. And so that world, usually you say 2 to 3 years, because you're just saying, do you know how to manage internal stakeholders? Do you know how to manage internal politics? That's what 2 to 3 years means. It's about, do you know how to deal with the people stuff? That's the secret code, everyone. That's what 2 to 3 years means. So if you work in another role, but you're that user value focus, that's going to open a lot of doors for you, and make sure your resume screams that. And think of your resume as a conversation starter. And so think about what would make you interesting to someone who wants a product manager.
Thank you, Jeremy. I think those, those points, those tips, just like the rest of your talk, is extremely practical and applicable. I think it's also actionable. So with that, I would like to thank our speaker, Jeremy Hahn. Jeremy, this has been a great presentation. I would want to move folks on to the shout outs now. If you have any kind of a shout out for the community, anything that you're looking for help with, or any way that you can offer help to the community, we would welcome that. And before I do that, before I turn it over to the shout outs, all of you are requested to fill out the survey. It's a simple, quick survey. We measure the Net Promoter Score. That in true product management fashion, it allows us to measure how we are doing, how effectively, are we, bringing speakers to you, how effective do you find these talks? So thanks in advance, for those of you who end up filling out the survey. So with that, I would, give it up for the shout outs.
Hey everyone, I'm hiring product managers. You can check out contractwrangler.com. And to Jeremy's point, I'm looking for people who can make an impact and help our customers. It does require a couple of skills, like being able to work with data, like get the data you need, but it's really about the mindset and getting in. So if you're interested, reach out to me or look up contractwrangler.com. And we are in B2B SaaS software business.
Thank you, Farshad. Any other shout outs or any other questions from the audience? Going once, going twice. All right. Thank you, folks. Thank you very much, for making it to our first event for the San Francisco chapter for 2021. Towards the end of February, the last Wednesday, we'll be talking to the Chief Product Officer from Lending Tree. He'll be sharing his perspective on marketplaces. So we hope that you can make that webinar as well. And hope all of you have a great rest of your evening or night or rest of your day, again, depending on which part of the world you're joining from. So thank you so much. Thanks again, Jeremy. It was a pleasure having you, and have you speak to our community.